what I decided to do, I knew I wasn't likely to get permission to start a whole new ball game, so I decided to transfer from the reality of the Redemptorist Record, which was mainly focused on our missions and mission news, to one that was more specifically focused on the Second Vatican Council and the renewal of the life of the Church. I'm not sure who first proposed it. One of these men proposed it, asked me would I bring out a new magazine that would propagate the teaching of the Council, and they would support me. And then when we actually did start the reality, we had an extraordinarily powerful board of editors. I mean, we had John Horgan and Louis MacRedmond, Miriam Hellerman, Maeve Binchy, Maud McLarney, and we had a very good Trinity College man who was from the north of Ireland and was a Protestant. Well, you know, at the popular level, and having a circulation of over 50,000, I think we did a large part of the whatever education on council documents and the vision of Pope John the 23rd in the Irish Church. I'd say we did an enormous transitional influence into the work of the renewal of the liturgy and so on.
It was after the Vatican Council, and I think the country was coming to grips with Vatican II, and one of the articles that I got, a man wrote, was entitled, "How can we make our Catholics Christian?" It's a challenge. So you can see what the thought was like, that we might be following the observances of the Church, but not exactly practically Catholics in our love for each other and so on, our solidarity and all the other things that we know are so essential for the faith. Certainly, reality played a big part in Vatican II, in explaining Vatican II and in introducing Vatican II to people. I would no hesitation about that.
I was doing the 32 counties, and I must say it was a different, I suppose Ireland was different at that time. I'd take a county each month, each week, one county for a small county for the week and a large county 2 weeks. I would go visit about 10 to 12 school classes in the day. Go in and tell them about reality, and tell a few stories, and sing a song, or a couple of songs, and get in with and sister then would say, what girl you now would like to be the promoter in this school class. And then after that, I would visit every promoter that I would have in the county. Every promoter was visited every single year, even if they were only doing 2 to 3 copies. It was very, very heavy work. But I enjoyed it. It was kind of visiting friends.
Well, I didn't find it difficult, no. I didn't. I liked it. I liked it, especially in the first 2 years. I liked it, you know, but I would think myself it's much more difficult now than it was then. You know, I got that. There's a different mentality in people now and everything. You know, there was some great characters that time. You know, you're going around. And there were some very enthusiastic people for reality too. It's a very good magazine, and if they read it, I think it will make a big impression on people and contribute a lot to them.
The magazine was regarded, I think, by and large as something very good and a quality magazine, excellent. I would think people that read it were delighted with it. Well, I felt that over its lifespan it made a tremendous contribution to the Catholic faith in Ireland, and it was a wonderful contribution, a great magazine to have, and it was very much on the ball on topical subjects each month, and people had something worthwhile to read and to talk about and discuss with their friends, and that way it did promote religion and made a great contribution to the faith in the Irish scene.
I was in the pre-technology days. When I was editing Reality, I thought it was very fine looking electric typewriter. So obviously, looking back now, it was very limited. When scripts or texts arrived through the post, really there wasn't an awful lot that could be done other than get out a red biro and do some light editing. There was no question of redrafting or retyping, because it would be a big, slow and cumbersome job. So we relied on the authors sending in work that was very nearly in order. And then of course photographs weren't scanned in those days. They came by post in an envelope, and they had to be, captions had to be typed up on the typewriter. And throughout this whole process, of course, it was slow, and when material had to be posted to the printers and it was returned from the printers, and then photographs returned to the authors. So it was quite a lot of drudgery involved that just doesn't exist nowadays. It was just a small editorial unit really, just myself as editor, and yeah, I wasn't conscious of being a sort of the only female on the corridor, but looking back on it now, it was probably, would be unusual by today's standards not to have more female input at an editorial level.
We did become a voice for some people within the Irish Catholic Church anyway, who felt that their disappointments or their vision wasn't being reflected elsewhere other than in reality. With the result, of course, in the end, that we ran into trouble with the authorities within the church. So that, from one point of view, could be seen as a feather in our cap, that we did address issues and uncomfortable issues. I wanted to try to put a bit of fizz into it. Might have come at the cost of losing some readers, but that was what my goal was anyway, to try to expand the operation so it wouldn't depend just on one publication. It has evolved over the years from a magazine that was slightly sex obsessed in the 1950s to one that would have been seen by some as not so much a cheerleader for the faith in the 1990s or 2000s as a publication that gave a voice to people who were who had a vision of church that mightn't be in keeping with their official party line. So the orientation of the magazine certainly evolved over the years. You could say from being quite traditional, hardline, to being the opposite. And hopefully that translation or transition of vision might reflect and have helped shape a little bit some thinking within the local church anyway.
What a kick out of it in some ways. I mean, sometimes it's been panic coming up to a number and saying, how in God's name are we going to be able to fill the 48 pages that we fill every month with what we have? And sometimes then at the last moment something comes in and you think, there's promise in that, we can use it. And at this time I'm beginning to learn how to fill the cupboard a little bit. Now there is a bit of stuff on the cupboard for the next few months, and I've also learned the art of trying to think ahead. But the first year it was very much thinking from month to month, maybe about 2 months ahead. You will see that business of informing and leading to discussion and leading to some sort of healthy debate about the church is actually the most important thing that we can do. Because I am, I suppose, terribly conscious of the lacunae that there are in people's minds of even basic information about Catholic and what Catholic means and what the history of Catholicism is and how often we can actually get it wrong. And so I see part of my role is actually expanding that information bank, if you want, for Catholics. Like there's a Redemptorist, I'm proud of that achievement, but it is a record of what reality Redemptorist Record have been doing for about 80 years. I'm proud of the people who were there from the very beginning, from that man whom I never knew, Tom Murphy, who died in Belfast in 1950. I was only about 3 at the time. I never knew him. But he died there in Clonard, and he had been the first editor, and it was he who had the courage and the imagination to actually conceive of reality as it was, and then the other editors have followed on and kept the thing growing. And that's, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that's where I am. I'm not doing anything new. Read us. That's the most important thing. Fight with us if you have to. Send us a letter to tell us what we're doing wrong or what we're doing right. And please, Redemptorists, send us an article from time to time. Because it's not just me, this is a Redemptorist undertaking. And also I want to say a word of appreciation for the people who have worked with us over the years. The staff, the backroom staff that you sometimes don't see, our secretarial staff, our managerial staff, our people who are responsible for circulation, for postage and all that, and also for David McNamara, who often gets overlooked in the work he's done. You know, an awful lot of the success of reality over the years, I think, must go down to David and his imaginative use of colour and photograph and image. So David, well done. Claire, well done. Paul, Michelle, well done. And all those who are there before you, well done.